Okay, let's talk Padres here with Jamie. And he asks, you think Bogaerts is upset due to the position shift with Kim?
That's a good question, Jamie, but the answer is no, because they approached Bogaerts during the course they were interviewing him after he opted out and became a free agent from the Red Sox. And I said, big picture, long term, there might be a position change. We have all these players coming. Would you be adverse to second base? He had played third base also in Boston. So when he could go anywhere, he said, I just want to win. And of course, they gave him a mega contract. So no problem whatsoever. And he put on a good face. He said, hey, if this makes us a better team, a better defense, then I'm all for it. And they do have Hassan Kim for at least one more year. And they got Cronenworth going back to first. And they believe Manny Machado, coming off the elbow surgery, will be ready to play third base opening day against the Dodgers in South Korea. So Bogaerts signed off on all this.
Well, I saw him being interviewed about this, and you can tell that it still irked him a bit, because if you're the shortstop, you're the dude, you're the most athletic guy on the field. And to be sort of demoted from that, I mean, it's almost like when Tatis got sent to the outfield, he was a little pissy about that at first, but then they wise up and they understand that this is better for their long-term career and for the team.
Well, injuries have a lot to do with why Tatis was moved from short to right field. Bogaerts defensively is good, but not as good as Kim. No. Kim's a gold glove guy. Kim's got more range.
Now, I always thought in the very beginning when they got Bogaerts that they should have put him at second to start and Kim at short. But I had heard a rumor that the Padres promised shortstop for 1 year to Bogaerts. Is that true?
Might be, but I know they did have the conversation that in the big picture, somewhere down the road, there might be a position shift. Sure. Are you okay with that? And he said yes.
Good.
Next question.
Okay, let's go here to Willie. He says, Padres are a disaster. Be lucky to stay ahead of Colorado. Preller has wrecked the team with insane deals and signings.
Well, I'm a pro Preller guy because I believe in his philosophy, boots on the ground. He does have a track record of finding players who can contribute. I'm an antagonist of AJ because of the amount of money he's burned through, the excessively long contracts that he has given that nobody else has given. If this doesn't turn out to be a really good season, like chasing the Dodgers and finishing second and doing something in the playoffs, then I think the community is going to start looking at AJ very differently. That being said, AJ's got a contract that runs through 2006. I don't know that the Padres want, or 2026. I don't know that the Padres want to eat that contract at this point. Also, keep in mind, they've got a truckload of kids at AA and A. One or two of those kids may surface sometime this season. A bunch of them are going to be here next year. So they've kind of reloaded this thing, and he's not going to be allowed, I don't think, going to be allowed to trade any of these kids like he traded the farm system away 2 different times. So AJ has yet to do it, and AJ's done a lot of great things, and AJ's made some mistakes. He's yet to do it. Do it means plan in the World Series.
Yeah, but I wouldn't ever call them a disaster.
No.
I mean, because you got a top 10 farm system. You've got many marquee top name players on defense and in your starting rotation.
You got 4 really established everyday lineup guys.
Exactly.
Stars, and obviously the front end of the rotation's good if they don't have any injury setbacks.
Right. There's a lot of ifs. The team isn't as deep as it used to be. But I'm sorry, like last year and the previous so-called good years, the Padres just choked. They were underperformed, but the roster has still been good. So let's just hope we regress to the mean and we have an up season this year.
On paper, Willie, this team's pretty good. Has to prove it on the field starting mid-March against the Dodgers in Seoul, South Korea.
Okay, moving on. Let's go to Angels. Talk a little Angels baseball, because I'm watching Angels Stadium from my office and fitting it cloudy and gloomy. Gotten so bad in Anaheim that billboards been popping up with the hashtag "Sell the Team Artie."
Exactly. I mean, scoreboard does not lie. They haven't made the playoffs in a long time, 9 straight losing seasons. And now your superstar goes front and center and says, send a signal to this community. There are still marquee free agents out there. Mike Trout says, sign Snell or sign Bellinger. I don't think they have enough of a roster to compete. And, the injury factor has just destroyed Trout and has devastated Rendon. And now Rendon has made these unbelievable comments about it's not a priority. Wow. So they've really got a tough situation. I can't think of, outside of the disaster that is the Oakland Athletics and the stadium issue and the cheap owner and the bad roster, I can't think of a worse baseball situation right now than what's going on in Anaheim outside of the Oakland Athletics.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, who else would you put in that questionable bucket? Maybe Tampa, but maybe not.
Yeah, but Tampa's 1-1-1 despite the payroll. Their organization's done a great job in terms of player acquisitions.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think the Angels are a mess. Let's go to another comment here from John talking about Mike Trout. He says Mike Trout can't tell anybody what to do when he's a walking disabled list.
Except, John, that's kind of a cruel comment. He got hurt playing for your club. He got hurt chasing down fly balls at Angel Stadium with a calf or the hamstring. He got hurt catching a pitch on the inside, busting up his hands. I'm not going to buy that theory that this is all on Mike Trout. This is all on ownership and it's bad player decisions, etc. So, the fact that Trout wants to stay there, that's a hell of a thing in terms of who he is and what he stands for. He doesn't want to leave. And he could stand up and say, trade me right now. And they'd have to trade him, and he's an East Coast guy from New Jersey. He'll play for the Phillies. But no, he wants to stay there. He just wants the ownership to do what the ownership's supposed to do, which is make the right decision on a player personnel acquisition.
Well, you said that Bryce Harper is willing to take less money to amass more talent. Do you think the Phillies would trade for Mike Trout?
That contract is huge. I mean, his contract, off the top of my head, it might be $269 million total.
Wow.
And the Phillies are upper echelon in luxury tax already. So I don't think they could make that type of deal right now.
Okay, let's move on here. Let's talk to Fig. He says, will any team take a chance on Trevor Bauer?
I'm surprised. I really am. I mean, most of the everyday quality starting pitching's off the board with the exception of Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery. And Bauer went public last week and said, I'm willing to take the minimum, which is I think for him, based on service time, is like 1.5 mil with incentives that could get him up to maybe 8 mil. Nobody's made a move on him. He can pitch. Now, is he a Cy Young Award winner? No, he's probably your second best or third best starter, but that's trustworthy. He's never had arm problems. He's a jerk. He can pitch. Nobody wants to do it because he's, quote, toxic talent. I'm surprised. John, would you take a chance on him if the structure, the way he wants to structure a contract?
Yes.
To get in the front door?
Yes, very much so. Yes. I mean, we've seen other clubs have so-called bad boys.
Yeah.
You talked about the Pistons. We know about the Raiders back in the day. And, it's part of the identity of the team. The fans embrace it. They tend to love their guys for being bad boys. So why is it different in this case?
Just because it was a sexual thing, I think, more than anything else. Never got charged, never got arrested, but obviously it happened. Something happened. Something sleazy happened. And he was at the front and center of it. And there's 3 other women that have come said, yeah, I was involved in a relationship with him. Guess what? That's a big issue. But can he pitch? Yeah. Is he an affordable purchase now? Yeah. Tainted reputation? Yeah, I guess so too. Tough. That's a weird call.
Well, the Padres have Tatis, who violated the PED. I mean, we have Machado, who a lot of people think was malicious in the way he took out Dustin Pedroia and the way that what was that one case in first base? He stepped on the guy's foot. So there's a lot of bad guys in baseball. I mean, Bauer is innocent according to the law.
Yeah, but boy, what he did was way over the line. No?
I don't know. I mean, it's just, you're a traditional old school guy. Maybe it is over the line for you.
Okay. He hasn't been signed yet. Next question.
Okay. Let's talk here a little bit about Kansas City and the Guns. We got to go here. Willie says, yeah, the House and Senate are on a 2-week vacation for President's Day. They are a disgrace to all of us.
Well, I'm just so turned off by how the politicians act and nothing gets accomplished. The country is absolutely paralyzed right now. Now, maybe we get to November and that vote is counted and the guy that's caused the divisiveness is gone forever. Maybe that changes things. Or maybe those who go to the polls are going to vote out some of the guys in Congress who haven't done anything on behalf of our country because they're acceding to that guy over there, the former president. Maybe things will change November 5th when we're doing the podcast. But right now, our country is in just a terrible state of situation. And, guns, border, economics, helping Ukraine, etc. If I were a king, it'd be very different. But if I were a king, I'd probably get headbutted by the guy from the other party standing in the aisle across from me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is crazy they go on vacation when there's such major crises to try to solve right now. Um, I'm of the opinion here. First of all, this precedes Trump. This goes back decades, but we have inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That means you have the liberty to have a gun, but you also do not have the liberty to start shooting people randomly. So we've got to find a better spot.
You really want to open up this can of worms and talk more politics on a sports podcast?
Yeah, I know. Let's keep moving on here. Okay, let's go to Dick, and he says, "Hey, if parents, it's another gun comment. If parents knew the sons had guns, then charge the parents with manslaughter."
Well, that's what's happened in Michigan, first time ever. That case with the kid that killed all those kids at Oxford, Michigan. So it's a big issue. I don't know how we're going to solve it. John Riley has a right to have a gun. But there has to be a screening process in place that if there's a past felony, if there's mental health issues, then maybe he does not have the right to have a gun because of all this other stuff involving his life. I have no problem with a sportsman having access to guns, but we need to have the screening process to make sure. And for those who are going to scream at me and say, Second Amendment, I have rights. Well, the kids that got wounded in Kansas City had rights to go celebrate Chief football, and look what happened to them. So we need to have a better red flag screening process for the people who have a right to have a gun versus the ones who should not be allowed to have access to it. Does that make any sense?
It does. I mean, because we all have a right to our own life. But, background checks and all these, it probably wouldn't have solved this situation because these are minors. Most likely the guns were acquired illegally.
Black market.
So there is no silver bullet. Sorry to use that as an analogy, but there is no single solution. It's a very multidimensional problem.
So you don't think I should talk about the other word that we've stayed away from? Death penalty.
Oh, tell me. Talk to me.
It's another topic on the table for another day.
Okay.
All right, let's go from there. Let's go to social media because we've got a lot of people here stacked up with opinions too.
Oh yeah.
Who want to join us.
Okay, let's go to social media here and let's talk a little Lakers. This is from KM. He says, they were 8th last year. LeBron and AD will quit the load management and squeeze in to make a run.
I wish I knew who they were, Jekyll or Hyde. I mean, we saw Rui Hachimura go off for 37 the other night. Where was that? How come that's not part of his consistent makeup? Austin Reeves has had a much better middle of the season than when I thought was a real substandard start for him. So suddenly, based on what we just saw right before the All-Star game, they look pretty dangerous. But what about the rest of the group? Because virtually none of the other free agents that they brought in or traded for have been able to stay healthy or contributed whatsoever. On paper, you see these flashpoints from D'Angelo Russell, Rui, Austin Reeves to go with the big two, and you say, wow. But then you also see them lose to some horrid teams out there. Say, how is that possible? So I don't know who they are, Jekyll versus Hyde.
Yeah, these fans think that the Lakers are just going to flip a switch and go and dominate the league. And I think last year when they were an 8th seed and got to the Western Finals, that was way above expectation. I don't think you can expect it again this year.
No, LeBron and AD carried them. I mean, it was phenomenal how many minutes they were playing, how productive they were, but it's the same old problem. And then one of them gets dinged, then what do you got?
Yeah.
Okay, move on.
Moving on. Okay, let's talk Chip Kelly, UCLA. This has got a lot of response out here for social media. It says, gee, Lee, why do all the options reflect negatively on Chip? Did you even think to consider what the reasons might be for him leaving? It sure wasn't for the money. I've heard some issues that he may have had with UCLA leadership. What say you?
I was told that Chip Kelly's asked for everything, was given everything, and then didn't put a winner on the field. And by the same token, he stayed away from people he was supposed to interact with. I was told the Men of Westwood, which runs their collective, was so upset that he would not get involved with them as they're trying to finance UCLA football, much like USC and all the other schools in the country. I was told the Men of Westwood went to the athletic department and the president and said, we are going to stop funding UCLA football if this guy remains as head coach, because this guy has not done what this guy is supposed to do and every other marquee head coach in the country is doing with the programs. He lost his way. I don't understand it. And he had no relationship with players. He was condescending to the media. He had no interaction with the most influential supporters of the Pac-12 program. And I was told after the men of Westwood made their comments, I believe to the president and the AD, that there was a follow-up meeting with Chip Kelly that said, we will have to make a change. You have a window to go find your next job. And then suddenly within 2 days, he interviewed with the Raiders and he interviewed with the Washington Commanders. There was a schedule. He was going to interview with the Seahawks about the offensive coordinator's job. And then he took the Ohio State job, maybe for only 1 year. I don't know. But there's a lot of layers of problems there. And to me, it's all on him. He's not what he used to be.
Well, does the athletic director bear any responsibility here? Did he screw it up for Chip Kelly at all?
Obviously didn't do enough due diligence of who the guy was and how he acted. And they gave him a contract with a $9 million buyout if he got fired. And the university's in so much financial trouble. It's terrible. UCLA's got a $36 million athletic department deficit. University's got $100 million total university deficit. University of Arizona's in the same way. They just hired a new athletic director from the SEC today. There's some schools that got monster money problems. So I put this all on Kelly because it's his program, and how he acted to me was a turnoff, and the stuff I've heard from influential people is a turnoff. So not me just picking on Chip Kelly. It's what Chip Kelly dug this hole for himself, and so he walked out, and I think he's left a terrible mess behind.
Did you have a $9 million buyout on your last contract?
No, I got a brown envelope that said your contract's expiring. We're making a change. Sign here. I've got a couple brown envelopes in my folder at home. Thank you very much.
Let's move on. Let's go. We got more social media here. Let's talk Padres. And this is from Galen. He says, the pressure is off with no excitement. I'd say it's a good thing. And I know San Diego sports always needed a critical voice counter to Kevin Acee, who will always find a silver lining in hell. But Hacksaw is always hating, never positive.
No, that's not true. A year ago this time, going to spring training, we were going crazy about the mega stars, the Fab Four, I think we called them. Then it became the Fraud Four. I'm not being negative for the sake of being negative. I'm dealing with what there is in front of me. Dealing with what the Dodgers have done, or dealing with what the Angels have become. So now we put the topics on the table. I like those guys. I like all the guys that cover the Padres. I think they're kind of cool. They all come at it from real different angles. Whether it's AC and Jeff Sanders, who does the minor league coverage, which AJ Casaval from MLB.com, or what Dennis Lin has done. And he's been more critical since he left the UT to go to work for the Athletic. But everybody I know reads what Dennis Lin does. I just think you need a voice that's also going to present the other side of the story. And you can sit there. I have no problem, Galen, with you sitting there and sales pitching me everything AJ's done positively. But I'm going to make sure that you're going to hear my sales pitch about the burn currency, the overpaid money, the contracts that he had to put money in to get people to take these guys away, and just the aura of 9 years. And all he's given us in 9 years is 3 good months of baseball in 2022 when they chased down the Dodgers. Can you tell me anything else that's been successful under his reigns? And I like him. And I think he does a good job with boots on the ground and finding talent. But at the end of the day, you need to be playing the end of October, and I've spent so much currency, and it hasn't happened yet. So I'm not negative for the sake of being negative. I'm just giving you the rest of the story that most of the media in this town doesn't want to present. Somebody's got to say it, so it's I volunteer.
Yeah, well, you have a history of, one man's opinion, and you just kind of let it rip. You call it as you see it, and that's why we love you. But go back to, the Preller and these deals, and you blame him. Now look at the Clevenger trade. Now, they gave up a lot of guys to Cleveland, Quantrill and Naylor and Arias, a bunch of other guys. And then Clevenger comes here and blows out his arm, and he's injured and never. I mean, do you blame Preller for that too?
No, not really, except they paid a steep price. And Clevenger had injury history prior to getting here, and he got hurt again.
Right.
And by the way, he's unsigned, the group of guys that's still out there. So I think you have to evaluate every deal specifically. When they made the Soto trade, I said, wow, this is a megastar. This is an MVP type guy based on the fact he was a .290 career hitter in Washington and played pretty good defense. He got here and he did not produce, and he didn't play the outfield anywhere near the way he played, and his attitude within that clubhouse was kind of standoffish. I said, geez. And then look at the guys they gave up are all the cornerstones of Washington as they start to rebuild. And now 2 years in, it didn't work. Now Soto's gone. And you can be excited, Galen, about who they got, but I'm telling you, baseball people tell me they didn't get the right guys in the Yankee transaction. Yeah, they got 4 pitchers. One of them might be really good a year from now, 2 years from now, and Drew Tharp. Michael King might be a decent starter, but the rest of the pitchers in the deal, they're just guys, and the Yankees didn't want them. So I'm just presenting to Padre fan the alternative piece of information aside from the information you got that makes you want to cheerlead. That's what I think.
It's funny. There's a lot of people that bitch at you because you're negative. And I don't get it. Are these just like kind of soft SoCal sports fans that want everything to be sunny and roses?
Well, I guess everything can be beautiful through your lens, but, Chargers left. We're going to just say that was great. Great for our community.
No.
What Spanos did. You got to stand up and you got to publicly say what you believe based on the data that you have.
Sure.
End of sermon.
Okay. Well, talking about Chargers, you may mention Spanos. Let's go here to Scorpion. He says, hey, it's a run first offense that gives Herbert play action options. So this is about the RPO. Herbert isn't going to hold the teams on his shoulders anymore. So no more 400-yard, 40 passing attempt games. Harbaugh wants a balanced offense, and that is what he's doing. Herbert will only be better with an improved run game.
I agree, because Harbaugh's persona is pounded. Now, who is going to pound it? It's not going to be Eckler. He's a free agent. I assume he'll probably go somewhere else to a throwing offense. They're going to have to find a power running back. And what complicates it is, Saquon Barkley is going to be effective a free agent tomorrow. Tomorrow is franchise tag day in the NFL. The great running back Derrick Henry, Tennessee, is going to be a free agent. Those are power backs. But what complicates the Chargers situation is they're $55 million over the salary cap. They got to shed players before you can think about bringing a guy in. And Saquon Barkley is going to want $14 million a year. Derrick Henry's probably going to want to stay where he is, which is $8 to $10 million per year. I don't know how the Chargers can afford to make that type of acquisition. But if you get a guy who can run the hell out of the ball, like Christian McCaffrey, but that's not cheap. If you can get somebody like that, that makes Herbert much, much better.
Well, who was the running back at Michigan? What was his last name? It was Corum, I think it was.
Corum. BJ Corum.
Does he have a future in the NFL?
Awful small, but probably, yeah. But might he be the next Eckler? I don't know. Eckler was so unique and so different. So Corum, I don't think is upper echelon, but college football has become a throwing game. I mean, quarterbacks and wide receivers just at the top of most everybody's draft boards. The running backs are now farther down. But I do agree with the theory that if you can play power ball, that makes that quarterback, and that's a great quarterback that the Chargers have, that makes that quarterback much better. Well, interesting to see, they're going to be, this new GM is Joe Ortiz is going to be moving parts around. There are going to be some guys who are going to leave. They're going to have to stockpile assets. They have to bring more people in who can play around Justin Herbert.
Is J.J. McCarthy an NFL quarterback?
I don't see him as being a first-round pick. Maybe the back of the first round. I think he's in the second tier of guys that, obviously, once you get beyond Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels of LSU has elevated himself. All of a sudden, a lot of people are looking at him as maybe being a top 10 pick. And obviously, Drake May at North Carolina. Those are the 3 top quarterbacks. Then there's the second tier of guys. And I think that's where your guy kind of falls. But I think he's at the back end of the first round. If he's even a first rounder, I'd think it's more a second or a third rounder.
Yeah. I'm over
okay. Hey, we hope you have enjoyed our podcast. It's great to have you with us.